listening to the Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast, brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technological advanced silhouette decoys on the market, and Vortex Canada, the force of optics.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430. This is episode 97 and it's a light crew, and it's good because I'm the only one that knows Mr. Geoff Wood. So it gets good because I get them all to myself and I get to chat when I'm just myself and I don't get all the rest of the boys chiming in. So it's awesome. Dave's at the fire hall. Mark is, I don't know. I'm thinking Mark is still out helping clean up from that tornado that landed in the area back about a week ago. So he's been giddy running around with his chainsaw for the last few days. So I'm thinking that's where Mark is. Philly is working. Ryan, haven't heard from him. So I'm thinking he's at something pretty important as well. So you got me and only me. And we have Mr. Geoff Wood, or Geoff as Jeff Coates calls him, or Species, or what was that other one? Cobra. Yeah, I like Species. Species was my favorite. So we're going to get into a good chat with Geoff. Geoff's from PEI. I had hunted with him last fall. Myself, Josh Reed, Steve Segulik drove down to PEI, hung out with Geoff and Geoff, and we had a great time. So we're going to get into that, start talking about what's happening down on the East Coast. Geoff is very, very involved with Delta Waterfowl down there, and he is the epitome of an outdoorsman. So this is going to be a great episode, and if we can, we'll get him to give us a quick shot of his little man cave that he's in later on in the show, just to show you some of the beautiful birds that he's harvested over the last number of years down in PEI. So Geoff, buddy, thank you so much for coming on. I know you were a little bit hesitant about it, but you know what? I'm glad you agreed to come on, and it's good to see you, buddy, and chat face to face.
Yeah, good to see you too, buddy, and thanks for having me. Yeah,
so for those that are listening, and if you followed along, like last year we went to PEI, where we met up with Jeff Coates from Pit Boss Waterfowl. So Jeff had met us at the cabins, cold beer in the fridge waiting for us, some snacks already waiting for us, and we started this hunt, and we had a whale of a time, and a great time. And one of the biggest things that I'll always remember, that I'll take back from it, was because when I waterfowl hunted when I was in Newfoundland, when I was growing up, all we done was pond hop, right? Like we didn't set out decoys. Nobody had a call. Nobody wore camo. It was really just, pond hopping, and it was really fluke if you were getting birds, right? Like there wasn't a whole lot of skill put into it. And then, I got back into it when I was in New Brunswick. So I got a little bit more into, hunting ducks and the strategy behind it. Then when I moved to Ontario, hooked up with Mark Fitch and all those guys, and really, really got into it. So I sort of kind of got settled in my ways of how to hunt ducks and geese and stuff. And then I go to PEI, and all of that just goes right out the door, because you guys just do things. And it was some of the most amazing things. And I'll still remember to this day, taking that crabgrass and turning them into black duck decoys and hunting over it. It's still one of my favorite memories of all time. So it's good to have Geoff on, because we'll get to pick his brain on some of the things that they do in PEI that none of you have ever seen or have even heard tell of. So it'll be a good episode. It'll be a good episode. So Geoff, first off, I wanted to give you a chance to sort of kind of introduce yourself and your experience, because you are a very, very experienced waterfowl excuse me, waterfowler. And I want to give the people that are listening a reason why they call you species. The nickname is you have this crazy drive to chase the weird, the funny birds, right? So like when those Eurasian widgeons comes in, when that weird hybrid shows up, when you find that bird, you will spend the entire season chasing that bird, won't you?
Yeah, I will. I mean, I don't, I'm not just going to set up for that bird every day until I get it.
Right.
At one time I was almost that bad, but now it just doesn't mean quite as much to me. But yeah, I mean, if I see something like Eurasian widgeon, I shot one in Alaska, but I'd never shot one here in the island, and I'd been trying for years.
Yeah.
And it's the one. Did you see that one when you were here?
Yeah.
So the one you had seen, it was 3 or 4 years that I saw that in the same location, and I was haunting him, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it got shot, and then luckily I found another one 2 days before the season ended, and
you got that.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to shoot him.
That amazing. Like you followed one for a couple years. I remember you took us because we were looking at, we had come back from a goose hunt. We had traveled down a road in an area that was just absolutely flooded with geese, but you couldn't hunt there. I think it was a conservation area or something. Like there was no hunting in around there, and obviously the geese knew it. So then that, we watched the geese and we were chatting and stuff like that. And then you took us down to where this spot is, where you seen that Eurasian widgeon, right? But just like and this is my thoughts, but I think, we're traveling around. We've got we had 2 or 3 trucks, decoys, trailers, all this stuff, and people start noticing us, where we're stopping, where we're looking, and then right at that spot where we're stopped, where you had seen that widgeon, I think somebody else seen us there, and they were like, oh, there's something funky going on here. If Geoff is stopping here, there's something funky going on here, and I think that's what ended up happening, and somebody got to your bird. I think that's my conspiracy theory on that one, anyways.
Yeah, and that could be right. I mean, the fact that Geoff put it on, he took a video or took a picture and put it on Facebook. I thought, and I mean, to those who know the area, it was pretty pretty obvious where it was. So, but no, I think the guys that shot it, honestly, I think it was just a total fluke on their part.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from my understanding, they didn't even know what they shot. They were going to pluck it.
That's
what it feels.
Yeah, I had a buddy here a couple years ago. He had sent me a picture. He was like, "Do you know what this duck is?" And it was a mallard, right? But it was a bibbed mallard was what it was, and I didn't know it was a bib mallard. So actually I took the picture and sent it to Ryan Bro, and I was like, Ryan, what is this? And he had confirmed it was a bib mallard. So I wrote my buddy back to tell him it's a bib mallard. You should get that stuff. And he was like, too late, it's in the frying pan.
Yeah. Yeah, some tasty.
Yeah, some tasty. And you know what? He was the type of fella that, oh yeah, well, yeah, it's a cool looking duck. I took some pictures of it. But it, I went out to shoot a duck so I could have something to eat. So that was, he didn't cry or anything because he ate a bib mallard. He was just as content to, to have up some fried mallard breasts and than he was if he had it hung on his wall, right? So it's funny. I love it. But I did want to talk to you about, when it comes to, and I was guilty of it too, like there's not a huge flyway of birds in Newfoundland, right? Canada's or ducks, like we have some, but not anything to be extremely to get too excited about, right? And then I had hunted with Ryan in Nova Scotia, some of the best duck hunting I've ever had in Nova Scotia with Ryan. And then I get to PEI, the ducks and geese, and maybe this is not a good idea to be talking about how many ducks and geese there are in PEI, because maybe you guys will start getting swarmed now, but I don't think PEI gets the attention that it should get when it comes to waterfowl hunting, because it is absolutely fantastic hunting on the East Coast.
Yeah, we've got it pretty good. Access can be hard, you know, especially for geese to try to get fields. So many of them are spoken for. But I mean, if you have prime fields, you can really do well for sure. And when you guys were here, I mean, let's face it, the weather sucked. I mean,
it did.
Sunny and calm all 3 days.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It actually, the day we left was the best hunting day that we had in the 4 or 5 days that we were there. I believe the day we left, we were like, oh yeah, here's the weather we've been waiting for all week, and it's finally showing up on the day that we left, right? But it was still like, it was impressive. Like, we seen tons. I remember that first morning we set up and we were with Paulie on a goose hunt. Like, we had seen geese and they had flown over, like they had somewhere else where they wanted to be that morning. But we seen so many ducks in the air flying by, and I was just like, I was giddy. I couldn't believe the amount of ducks that was flying around, and all, you know, mallards, just beautiful mallards. And I was just, again, I shouldn't have been shocked, but I was really, really impressed with the amount of birds that was there. And like you said, I know it depends on the getting the access and stuff like that, and I get that, but man, if you can lock down some fields there, it's impressive, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. A lot of us don't really realize how good we do have it, you know.
Well, I can remember one of the fellas that came over to have drinks with us. I didn't hunt with him. But he was one of the older gentlemen. I forget his name now, but I know like those guys. And then there was a young fellow with him. And those guys, like, every day it's limits. Like that's it. Like, every day they hunt till they get their limits every day. They don't call it after, oh, well, it's a little bit of a lull here, 2-3 hours in. Yes, we'll pack up and we'll go. But like, getting limits every day.
Yeah, and they've got a ton of good fields.
Yeah. And yeah, you know, I guess that's the important thing to take away from this, eh? Like, you can have all the birds around you all you want, but if you don't have access to the land or to the spot, to the X where they're going, it's all for naught, I guess, eh?
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, they still work at it. You know, they scout, they get up, they hunt, they get their birds, they go home, you know, maybe have a shower, nap, whatever, and then scout.
Yeah.
For the next day, and then, you know, just that's a cycle every day.
Yeah.
So they put the time in. There's no doubt about it. They earn it. But it definitely helps to have the fields.
Yeah, 100%. Geoff, buddy, I wanted to talk to you about your work with Delta, because I know you're a big advocate for Delta and for DU. I know for both of them, but more so for Delta, and you know, you got guys like Jesus, his name is slipping my mind now, but he's the Eastern Canada coordinator for
John.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know, you know, and so I know Delta is really involved, and you guys are doing some amazing things down in PEI. And I know you're not a scientist, you know, by trade or by education or anything, but you've been involved in a long time. You've been banding for a long time and stuff. And this whole topic, and I personally don't think it's getting enough airplay, but this avian flu that seems to be threatening, you know, our waterfowl right now. It doesn't seem to be getting any attention. But I know you guys had, I don't want to say outbreak because that's a strong word, but you did have cases of it in PEI back this spring, correct?
Yeah. I'm trying to think back to the spring if we did or not. Right now, there's a lot of gannets dying of it here on the island.
Is it really?
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, a gannet is it's like a seagull. It's smaller than a seagull, but a really long beak. Yeah, they're smaller than a seagull, eh? A gannet.
They're a pretty big bird.
Yeah,
they might be small, maybe smaller than your blackback gull because they're good.
Yeah,
but no, they're pretty good size.
Okay, so anyways, the gannets, yeah, that's wow.
Yeah, and they shut down. I was banding ducks this winter, and I got shut down because of avian influenza.
Right.
And it wasn't as a concern. It wasn't that they were concerned with my safety. It was just that they didn't want to congregate birds in an area by baiting them.
Okay.
Because of it, that's how it spreads, is them being together.
Right.
So they shut that down, and now they're planning on coming. And when I say they, that's Canadian Wildlife Service.
Yeah.
They're planning on being here at the end of the month for 3 days, and 3 days the first week of July to ban geese.
Okay.
Because when they do the summer banning of geese, there's no baiting. They just
right.
Jonathan Platts with Ducks Unlimited does a lot of work with them, and he finds the birds. We go in, corral them, and just lead them into the pen basically. And so what's there is there. You're not drawing more birds in if they're there already. So
yeah.
The last time I talked to my contact at CWS, he thought that we might have to wear masks as a precaution.
Okay.
And they're supposed to be teaching me how to swab for avian influenza while they're here.
Okay. And that's all. And when I know there's some people that's probably listening and they're like, oh, here we go, the fucking mask again. But it's not that there's it's a precautionary thing, right? Because they don't know that it's just something. Listen, wear a mask because we don't know, and so we'll teach you to swab, get you the mask, and that's due diligence on our part for people that's doing the banding, right? Like it's not a mandate or anything like that that's coming down from the government, because I know there's a bunch of people that as soon as they hear that word masks and having to wear masks, they're automatically thinking that better put the tinfoil hat back on and
yeah, and I don't know, I have a feeling this may be coming from whoever it is that administers the banding program.
Yeah, of course.
Canadian Wildlife Service would be licensed through that entity.
Yes.
So
who is it like on your I got my friggin' thing took down. But when you do that, when you report a ban, right? Like that's a US in partnership with Canada, right? Like, so that could very well be a US Canada thing where they say, listen, this precautionary, let's just make sure that we know that our volunteers aren't going to get ill, because ultimately that's what it comes down to, right? Like they rely on the volunteers to help out so much with this. The last thing they want to do is put anybody in harm's way, right? So that's what I think anyways.
Yep, for sure. I mean, if there was, I don't know, let's say there's 20 people on a banding site, you probably have 5 Canadian Wildlife Service staff, and the rest, Jonathan from Ducks Unlimited would be there, some DU volunteers, and then they get watershed groups or conservation groups involved.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So anyways, to get back to that, so have you heard anything? And I'll precursor this, that I've been chatting with Dr. Scott Petrie from Delta, and Scott's going to come on the show. He's got some things on the go right now that he's, as you can imagine, he's a pretty busy man and a lot of stuff on the go. So once he gets his schedule cleared away, he's going to come on. And I told him that this was one of the topics that I really wanted to talk about, was this avian flu, because I don't think that it's getting the airplay that it should be getting. I think people need to be aware of it, because there's so many there's so many people out there that are waterfowlers, but they may not be as hardcore into it as what, say, you are, Geoff, where, you know, you're doing it every day during the fall. And these are guys that are out on the weekend just to get out, to have some fun. They enjoy it. They love it, but they're not following all the news when it comes to the waterfowl, right? That's in their area. So I think that it needs a little bit more airplay, because here in Ontario, they were talking about, you know, you should be careful with any wild birds whatsoever, you know, and this was coming out just before turkey season. And they were saying, you know, you got to be careful about harvesting any wild bird. Well, okay, hold on now. Like, you got to give us a little bit more science behind just coming out with that blanket statement and saying, you know, be careful on any wild bird because avian flu is going on. Well, listen, you got to give us a little bit more, because that's just creating nothing but panic, right? And a lot of doubt, because nobody really knows the answers. So that's why I've bringing it up to you, and why I'm trying to get Dr. Petrie on, is because I think that it's something that, you know, the millions of listeners of the show here could probably take advantage of some education.
Yeah, and I mean, I've already heard of people, you know, who think our season is in jeopardy. And, you know, through my conversations with anyone who really knows, that isn't the case. You know, again, I don't think Canadian Wildlife Service would come over here and ban geese and handle 1,000 geese, 1,400 geese, if, you know, if the concerns were that high that they could possibly shut our season down. Yeah. So, and apparently what I was told, ducks don't really seem to get affected by it. They can be carrion, but be asymptomatic, and, you know, they, for whatever reason, yeah. Oh, cool. Geese apparently don't react as well, and gannets, apparently, from what we're seeing here. Yeah. And now there's a fear that dogs could get infected. So again, a buddy of mine this morning, his dog came across a wounded one, and we're encouraged here in the island to call in any sightings if you find a bird that you feel might be infected. So he called it in, and Fish and Wildlife just told him keep an eye on the dog. Yeah. You know, which you would anyway.
And which is all you can really do.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, and this is, and I get it 100% that this is all speculation on your part. You've got no proof of anything or whatever. So anybody that's listening, don't take this as gospel or anything. But like, you look at PEI, and PEI is a farming province. It is very much an agricultural province, not wildlife, but livestock, vegetables and stuff like that. Like, are the farmers at all concerned? Like, are any more concerned than what they are of all the other friggin' threats that a farmer has when it comes to his livestock and his crop, right? Because they're always battling something. So like, have you heard have any of the farmers had to take any extra precautions or anything like that?
No, not that I've heard of.
Okay, good.
You know, poultry farmers, I think, would be the ones most affected.
Right. Right.
You know, I think there's more concern here right now with potato wart that happened last fall, and
really
has affected the potato industry in a very bad way.
Oh shit. I still, it was awesome. I remember we were hunting one morning, and this is the beauty about going to different places and experience and stuff. We were hunting one morning, and we had decided, we're packing up, we're going to head back. That was the morning that we had took the crabgrass and made the black duck decoys. And we were going back to the cottages, and we were going to have a big meal and stuff like that. And we were going to have fries and the whole bit. And we need some potatoes, and let's go pick some potatoes. And, it was a friend of yours and someone that you knew. So we didn't just arbitrarily just pull up on some farmer's field and start it. But, we went out, we had our couple 5-gallon buckets and filled our 5-gallon buckets with some potatoes, went back, peeled them right there, and made our fries. Geoff and Karen thought I was going to chop my fingers off, but that was all good. It was all good. We had some great great potatoes. But when we were picking the potatoes, you had mentioned that the geese will eat potato. And I've never heard anybody mention that before, because, you know, here all we see is geese hitting the corn or the alfalfa or the beans, or, you know, there's not a big potato industry here in this area anyways. So when you tell me that, yeah, they'll hit a potato field, 100% they'll hit a potato field. They are, I guess, creatures of their environment, right? Like they adapt, and that's how they succeed. That they just adapt and they eat what they eat, and that's it. But I still remember I was like, what? Eating potatoes? That's awesome.
Yeah, and after a good frost, the smaller ones turn kind of mushy, and those are the ones they really go for.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, years ago, the geese didn't hit the fields here at all, you know, so they started into the grain fields and potatoes, and we didn't have that much corn, but now there's a ton of corn.
Okay.
So you don't see them in the potatoes as much. In areas, you don't see them.
Yeah. Now there's more of a variety for them, right? So they can, you know, go back to what they're normally drawn to, which is the corn and the grain and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Awesome. Geoff, tell us a little bit about, you know, what you've seen over the years when it comes to hunting on the island, and that is like local hunters, and then, you know, non-resident hunters that are coming. Like, would you consider this the high point of the numbers of people that are waterfowl hunting on the island, or are you seeing a decline? Because when we were there was a lot of young fellas that was around that were hunting, and you got that little kid that comes out with you sometimes. I forget his name now.
Lamp.
Yeah, like that kid is hook, line, and sinker. Like he loves it, right? So are you seeing you know, an increase in numbers of people wanting to be chasing the birds?
It might be rebounding some, Damien, but I mean, it's been on the decline for years.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people that hunt now are a little more diehard than they used to be.
Yeah.
You know, you'd get a lot of weekend guys and guys that everyone used to say by November 11th, there'd be a lot of guys that'd be their last hunt. You know, they'd go out that morning and that was it. They'd pack it up. And our season used to end on the second Saturday in December. Now it goes till December 31st. So that's giving people more opportunity. And
yeah,
I don't know. I think there's a certain number of people too that want to know where their food come from. So they, you know, you go out and shoot it out of the sky, you know where it came from.
Well, yeah. And that's, you bring up a good point, because we brought it up here on the show before. We're seeing, and it's just for lack of a better term on my part, but, and I call them hippies and hipsters and stuff. But generally people that you wouldn't think that would be interested in hunting. So, you know, city people, I guess, is the best thing, the easiest way to describe them. But we're seeing, especially here in Ontario, we're seeing more and more of these people getting into hunting for that very reason, because they want to know where their food is coming from. They want to know how it's harvested, how it's clean, how it's prepared, everything about it. And going out and hunting is the best way that they can ensure that they know exactly what it is that they're putting on their dinner table, right? So we're seeing an increase of people that you wouldn't have thought would be hunters. So which is good for everybody in the hunting world when you get more and more of these people in, right? Because as long as they're being morally responsible and doing things safely, well, you know, it just works out great for hunters everywhere.
Yeah, and we need youth, we need kids getting into us, or else it will die, you know.
It will, yeah.
When I see Landon out there and just his enthusiasm, it just does the heart good. I mean, he is, like you say, he's hook, line, and sinker. So,
well, you know, and his dad is into it, and then you're out there with him. You know, he's soaking it up, and he's got a couple great mentors and a couple couple good people to teach them the right way to go about it, right? And you know, Bodias are just as excited as he is. I would assume Bodias were the same as he at that age when it come to chasing birds too, right? So it really is good to see the youth being involved. And I know Delta has got this this program that they're really pushing right now. This I forget the acronym that they use, but I think it's recruitment, retention, and something like triple R or something.
Yeah,
like
the 3R or something. Yeah,
the 3 R's or something like that. It's like recruitment, retention, and something. I don't know, but I know they're pushing really hard for this in North America, just because of what you said. If we don't get the youth involved, it is going to die, right? And it's not going to be as what it once was. So it is our responsibility, and we've said it on the show a million times, it's our responsibility to make sure that we're introducing the right people and educating everybody the right way in order to ensure that this keeps going. And that's the importance of Delta and DU, and then your conservation authorities that's in your area. All of those things, not one of them can do it all by themselves. It takes a lot, it takes a village, right, to raise something. So so we need all of those people to be doing their things, and we need volunteers, and we need the youth involved, and every walk of life that's out there, be it if you just want to conserve, or if you want to save a wetland, or if you want to be a hunter, whatever, it doesn't matter. But we just need everybody that we can out there to be contributing some volunteer time and some education, just so that this stays you know, passion for all of us for as long as we can.
Yeah, for sure. And there's different ways of volunteering too. I mean, I was on the Ducks Unlimited committee for 2 years, I think, and it just wasn't my thing, you know. So I've built duck hen houses, the tubular structures that Delta came up with, and then I've built wood duck boxes, and you know, get out, put those things up, and you know, you're doing your part.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like there's a lot of ways to volunteer. Being part of a committee, setting up hen houses or those nesting tubes. Yeah, there's a million ways that you can contribute, and it really just depends. Even I know here you're starting to see a lot of on the Ducks Unlimited side, you're seeing a lot of photographers that are getting involved, because obviously on the wetlands they can come in, and on a DU project they can come in and just set up their camera gear and spend a whole day just snapping pictures, right? And then on the flip side, you got an organization like Delta that, you know, so much money from each dinner gets dumped right back into the local area, right? So everybody is contributing and got something to pull somebody in, right? So this is why we're saying get out there, volunteer. If you don't think you've got nothing to offer when it comes to volunteer work, I think you'd be surprised if you actually talk to a committee in your area, because I bet you they could use your help one way or another. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Woody, what's going on this fall? Like, you got any big plans this fall? Are you going to go down to Maryland and hunt with Geoff this fall, or is Geoff coming up to hunt with you this fall? And I know you're sporting the new Pit Boss Waterfowl hat there. I gotta throw some props out there to Mr. Coates, because that's a fine looking hat.
It is, yeah. He and Karen are coming up. I think they're leaving Maryland on the 24th of October.
Okay.
And I think he plans on driving straight through like they did last year, and then they're here until the 8th or 9th of November.
Oh, good. A good long trip for them then.
Yeah, they'll be here a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So I won't be going down there, I don't think. 2024, I'm thinking I'll be going down. I don't have anything planned this year. other than, stick around here. And
yeah. Well, and you'll have a week and a bit with Geoff, and that's, that's something that people don't, I don't think people, I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't say people don't realize it, but I think people sometimes just forget about it. When you go places, and I remember Geoff bringing it up to us, right? When we were down there, the amount of time that you personally took to drive around with us, take us hunting every morning, do the scouting, help us getting food and everything. Like it's a big job on your part, right? Like you're not just showing up in the morning and going for a hunt. Like you've got guests showing up from out of country or out of province or, excuse me, out of town, whatever it is. You're a guide, essentially. You're a guide without getting paid as a guide. It's what's happening, right? So I know when we left, we gave you a gift card with Pat Heinrichs for Canadian Waterfowl supplies, and we were like, well, we'll do this for Woody, and I'm like, I wish I had more money to give him, because like it wasn't nearly enough to cover off all the friggin' around you did with us, but it
was greatly appreciated, I'll tell you that.
No, but like it is, like it's a lot of work when you've got friends showing up and you want to make sure that they're having a good time and that they're on the birds and the whole bit, right? So
oh yeah, I mean, it can be. I mean, like Geoff and Karen, this will be their 4th time up.
Yeah,
that the two of them came up. Geoff came up in 2011, I think.
Yeah,
was his first time here. So, but yeah, I mean, they're friends. Judy and Karen get along great. Geoff and I get along great. So, it's, and I put a lot of effort into it, but I think that's just part of the island way, I mean,
of course,
it's just the island hospitality.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you've got, and when it comes to Geoff and Karen, you couldn't ask for 2 better guests, because, they don't have any expectations. They're pretty max relax, and, they just want I know Karen, I know Geoff enjoys his time up there with you, but I think Karen enjoys it even more so than what Geoff does, because I think Karen considers that her little piece of heaven, and I think she enjoys it even more so than what Geoff does. It's just a chance for her to completely unwind and just enjoy the salt water, different from being in Maryland, right?
Oh, for sure. And she usually gets out on a couple of hunts with us, and there's no pressure. I mean, last year she wanted to shoot a black duck, so the field where we put the eel grass out to use decoys, her and I went in and she shot, I think she shot just 1 black duck that day.
Yeah,
we saw a ton of ducks that morning, but it was the same kind of thing as the morning that we were there. That just wasn't a duck hunting day. But once she got her black duck, she was.
I remember that morning. And I hope Steve is listening to this too when I'm talking about this. So Steve comes down to PEI, and he got a pile of guns with him. And I'm like, man, I don't know why you're carrying all them guns around. I'm like, they're junk. I don't know why you're doing it, all this stuff. And he's, shut up. And he's like, you're an idiot. And the whole bit, right? And him and I are going back and forth. And we're sitting in the blinds that morning. We've got the crabgrass, eelgrass put out. We got all the decoys set, everything. And a pair of birds starts working the spread, and I'm trying to get, what I'm doing is I'm copying Geoff at this point. Geoff doesn't have his gun up. Geoff's got his phone up, which he has with him, and it's up recording all the time when you're with Geoff Coates. And I'm recording too. And Segulik goes up to shoot these birds and has a misfire. And I just about shit my pants. I laughed so hard because he's telling me how awesome this gun is that he's using. And right off the bat, first thing, misfire. And he couldn't get it to work anymore. He had to take I don't know if you remember this, but he had to take Geoff's gun in order for him to be able to shoot anything because his gun wouldn't work at all that morning. So it was fun. I hope you're listening to this and you're cursing me right now as you're listening to it. And I'm sure you'll call me as soon as you're done the episode because it was fun and I had a lot of laughs at it. Had a lot of laughs at your expense, but sorry. Yeah. So, you know, Karen got her black duck. I know Geoff shot one that day too. If memory serves me correct, but they had went out tuna fishing, which I didn't realize that PEI is like the tuna fishing capital of North America, isn't it? Is something like that?
North Lake claims to be the tuna bluefin tuna capital of the world.
Yeah, which is
North Lake's the eastern end of the island.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about it because I didn't know that, and I'd like to think I'm pretty educated when it comes to Canadian things, and I didn't know that, so I was pretty surprised. And then, you know, Karen got her tuna. We ate some of it, which was fucking delicious. But yeah, sorry, I'm just going on about that trip in PEI because it was so much fun. And up to that point, it was the only province or territory that I hadn't been in was PEI. I'd been in every province in Canada, every territory, and PEI was the one that I'd never ever made it to. So that was my first time on the island, and it was nice because it reminded me a lot of home. And that was the big thing, that hospitality and the same, you know, the same way of treating people as what you guys do. And of course I had a cousin that's relocated there, his girlfriend, fiance, wife, she's an island girl, so he moved back to be with her, and they live in Charlottetown. So I got to visit some family while I was down there too. So that was always a real nice treat as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I knew that was your first time here. I think you did tell me that, but
yeah, I'm sure I did. But you know, we did have in the cabins at night, there may have been 4 or 5 different conversations all happening at the same time, right? So I may have said it and missed you, but yeah, so sorry to get back, you know, Geoff is coming up this year. You're not going to Maryland, but Geoff is coming up. I really wish that I could have been able to make it down this year, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to PEI. And for a reason that you and I had talked about before we had started this show, for me, I just don't think I can afford to be able to make the trip to PEI this year. Just on, you know, the cost of fuel and everything else, for me to be to leave Ontario by myself and drive to PEI and back, staying in the cottages, and Shaw's cottages are absolutely beautiful. But I just don't think I could do it by myself, money wise. So I've had to, you know, step back from the PEI trip. But I wonder, you know, is it going to affect me much more than having to cancel a couple trips that I had planned? Like how much scouting am I going to be able to do this year with the cost of, you know, you only have so much money. And if your wife is like mine, spending all my money in gas to chase birds is not high on her priority list. So I'm wondering, like, with the cost of and it's everything. It's not just gas, it's food, it's parts, it's equipment. Like, I'm hearing right now that there's going to be a lot of sticker shock once prices start hitting the shelves for decoys and gear this year in Canada. There's going to be a lot of sticker shock. Fellas are going to be like, what the hell is going on? Last year these decoys were $40 cheaper than what they are now, and I'm wondering how much that's going to have an effect on getting people out into the blinds this year.
Yeah, I'm just glad I've got everything I need.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've got everything I need. Maybe not everything I want, but everything I need.
Oh, you'll always want more.
For sure. Yeah. And I'm sure it's going to affect people, like upgrade decoys this year. Well, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'll have to wait next year. And so, and scouting, like you said, putting money in the tank. I'm sure I'll be doing more hunting close to home.
Well, I really like your idea where you're just saying, every week I'm putting $50 into a jar. And sort of kind of planned for that, right? Because the thing is what I'm guilty of every year is I say, I can't wait for the waterfowl season to start. And I think it's so long, and before long it jumps up on top of me, and here I am a week out. I'm putting new weights on. I'm running around trying to get the boat ready, putting new weights on decoys, chatting with farmers, doing all that stuff. And it climbs up on you before you know it, right? And I think I'm going to have to do what you're doing, and is that for the simple stuff, just on the gas, and so fuel for the boat, fuel for the truck, the odds and ends that you got to get, shells, everything is going to increase this year. And I don't think, well, I know I'm not properly prepared for it right now. I think I'm going to be hurting come September when I start. Okay, it's go time. I got all the gear that I need, but it's the consumable stuff that you need to be replacing every couple days or every week, that I think is gonna really affect me.
Yeah, it's I think it's going to be a shock to a lot of people, really, the way the gas is going, especially.
Well, yeah, like my truck right now, it's costing me over $200 to fill my tank, right? And I know, we've got a lot of listeners down in the States. I don't know what you're paying a gallon right now, but right here in Ontario per gallon, we're at around $8 and probably 10 cents, $8.10 a gallon right now in Ontario. I don't know why you guys are down. What are you at per liter down there now, Geoff?
206, 208 a liter.
Okay, so you're not far off from us. I know Dad in Newfoundland, like they're 220, 230 a liter. Yeah. Now there's talk that the government's going to drop the governmental tax, the provincial tax on gas, so that should save you. I think it's going to save them around 6 to 8 cents a liter. But I'm curious on the fellows south of the border, because I know their gas prices, their fuel prices are going up as well. And I'm wondering how much it's going to affect everybody in North America when it comes to scouting and chasing birds this year. How much of an effect is it going to have on your waterfowl season? Because I know it's going to have a big effect on mine.
I got to get up and let the cat in here.
Yeah. I was wondering why you was looking at it. I was like, well, it's not the missus, unless she's surprising you and coming home from Europe early. But
no, just I got a cat meowing at the window. So if I don't let her in, I'll forget about her. And
then the missus is mad at you.
Well, exactly. She comes home, there's no cat.
Mm-hmm.
I may as well out.
Yeah.
Come on, you.
Any tips, Woody, on what for anybody, even if you're a seasoned guy and you've been doing it, a guy or a girl, I hate saying just guy, but any tips for anybody when it comes to chasing? And I don't mean tips as in how to set up your spread or anything, but just any tips on how to have a more enjoyable hunt and ways to introduce more people into the world. Do you have any tips on that sort of thing?
I think just having no expectations when you go out, just go out and enjoy it, just for the sense of being there. I mean, you go out and the sun comes up and you're watching, red-tailed hawk chase the bird, or you see an eagle soaring by, or there's a lot of things you see that you're not going to see sitting at home on the couch.
That's right.
So, to shoot a limit is great. But to me, it's not the be all end all by any means.
I remember one morning, and it was a little bay that we had went to. It was where Sawyer retrieved that goose, where we were. And that sunrise that morning, Steve Segulik took a picture of me placing decoys with that sunrise in the back, or in the background. And of all of the laughs, because I had a ton of laughs in PEI, all of the first experiences and all of the great things that I'd done in PEI, that picture was just an amazing way to stamp it out, because that was our last hunt while we were there, right? Because the next morning we left and made our way back. So what a way to end it, because there was two things that morning. It was a beautiful sunrise and just an absolute, they took some pictures, and Geoff was doing his thing with Instagram, and he was, doing his thing. And it was awesome to hear him in the background. I'm setting up your hand carved decoys. I'm setting up Geoff's hand carved decoys. And here I am, gunning over yours and Geoff's handmade decoys with this beautiful sunrise, surrounded by, friends. That was Sawyer's first goose retrieve, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was cool.
Just an amazing morning, right? And those are the things that I think a lot of people, and I was just like it, where you just, all you care about is just smashing birds. And I love smashing birds, don't get me wrong. And I love hitting the limit. Love it. But I think as you get older in this game, or as you spend more time in this game of chasing the birds, those are the things that really stand out to you, right? Is hunting over a friend's hand carved decoys, that beautiful sunrise, that picture, being surrounded by friends. That's the little intangibles that, what, for the most part, you don't see on these. I don't even know if people buy the duck hunting DVDs anymore, but those DVDs and all the videos and all the social media, I don't think they share that stuff enough, right? Because I think as a young age, you're just, all you see is those piles of birds, and don't get me wrong, I love piles of birds, but there's things that just makes you want to sit back and just really appreciate it. And that last morning in PEI was definitely one of those for me, I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, I can remember saying to you, I mean, the forecast was sunny skies and no wind.
Mm-hmm.
Not what you want to hear as a duck hunter. If you're not, it doesn't affect you so much as a goose hunter. You got a field full of geese, they're going to come.
Yeah.
But we didn't have that. And I can remember saying to you, like, here's my thought. We'll go out, we'll hunt over my carved decoys, Geoff's carved decoys. And at least it's an experience.
Yeah.
It's something, like you say, you can tell people of that experience that, we only shot, we got that goose and we got a duck, maybe. I mean,
I think so.
Hunt, but it was, and that sunrise was just beautiful. You couldn't have found a nice sunrise.
You couldn't have painted it better.
No. So, I mean, it all came together to be a memorable day, and, for different reasons than maybe what most people intended to be.
Yeah. And I think I remember, you had said to me, well, this is the plan. And I remember going to Steve and Josh, and I'm like, listen, like, the chances of it being an epic hunt aren't great. And they were like, oh, we don't care. Like, let's just go out. We're here. Like, why would we stay back and not go? You know what I mean? Like, no, let's go. And that was the beauty about that group of people, because everybody was like, no, let's go. And don't get me wrong, like, around 9 o'clock, when our stomachs started rumbling, we were like, okay, it's time to head back to the cottage. We got some of Judy and Geoff's salsa waiting for scrambled eggs, and all of that good stuff. So it was a fabulous morning, buddy. And I know I've told you 100 times, but I'll never be able to repay you for that trip, because it was such a great trip. Getting to hang out with you and then all of your friends. Peter, I talked to Peter, I talk to him probably once a month. He'll shoot me a message, or he'll see something that I post online, and then he'll message me. We'll have chat. Paulie and the boys, it was just a fabulous weekend, or a fabulous week, I should say. And I can't thank you enough for letting me tag along with you guys, because I know you didn't know me, and I was coming there because Geoff had mentioned it to Geoff Coates had mentioned it to me, but you didn't know me, and you accommodated me for a week. So me, Steve, and Josh, and I can't thank you enough for that, because it was an amazing week and the highlight of my year last year for sure.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, even though, once again, it was quiet on the bird front, but that's hunting.
Yeah, that's hunting. That's right. We're at around our 60-minute mark, Geoff, buddy. So we're going to cut her here. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this show. It was a little bit different. Didn't have everybody on. It was just Geoff and I, and a lot of reminiscing about our trip in PEI. So I hope we didn't bore you. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I cannot stress enough, if you have the opportunity to book a hunt over on the island with one of the many guides over there, or if you have an acquaintance over there that says, hey, listen, you should come over here and try it, I promise you will not be disappointed. Island hospitality and some good hunting, I don't think, and the food, if you're a seafood fan, well, you're gonna have a good time too. So Geoff, buddy, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, well, thanks again, Damien, for having me, and I hope it turns out to be a good episode.
Oh, it'll be a good episode. I'm sure lots of people are loving it. I wish we could get into all of the stuff that all of the funny stuff that happened down there, but some of it we'll keep it amongst us, because it's best kept amongst us. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, this was episode 97 of the Union 0430. Thank you so much for your continued support. Like we always say, we're not experts. We're just a bunch of friends that love waterfowl hunting, and we surround ourselves with the absolute best people that there are. And Mr. Geoff Species Cobra Wood, you are one of the best, and I really, really am honored to call you a friend. And listen, I haven't completely ruled out making it to PEI. It just doesn't look great right now. So, but I promise you, we will hunt again in the near future, buddy. I promise you that. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, this was episode 97. Please like, subscribe, and let us know if you have any suggestions for the show. Thanks so much. Big love.